my next wish list is that the ultimate goal of the New York Yankees, like I said, when you put on pinstripes, I personally expect you to win 100 plus games. And the Yankees almost did that this year. They went 99 and 63. Is that what they went? I think
so.
They won 99 games.
Yep.
So you guys broke my heart a little bit. But you expect to win 100 games. And at this point, going to the next season, going by the previous seasons, especially in the AL, the Astros are the team to beat right now. And when you talk and you want to win, you have to think, can X team play with the Astros right now? It kills me to say it, but I really think you have to think that way. Can we compete with the Astros? And yes, they lost Verlander, but the Astros are a good baseball team. And my wish list is that the Yankees are able to confidently put out improved pieces at all positions that you feel confident in. And I am a little uncertain with our third base and left field options currently. So I'm not entirely sure what my wish list, what my wish is, Liam, for those positions. I know IKF was the shortstop last year. He had a rough season in the field if you look at it. But IKF is a third baseman as well. I don't know if that's the best option, but I personally don't feel very confident right now in the Yankees' third base spot and the left field spot, both defensively and offensively, if I'm being honest. So I think the Yankees have to look there. I'm very excited for a 100% healthy Bader in center field, especially after what we saw in the playoffs. He batted, I think he was the 333 in the playoffs. Yes, yeah. I'm very excited to see Harrison Bader in center field. I think that is going to be a nice upgrade for the Yankees if he can stay healthy. But I don't know how I feel about our third base and left field options currently on both sides of the baseball. And it's production and a little bit of contract issues as well, in my opinion, that they're a little stuck.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Donaldson gave a really solid defensive performance last year, but the offensive trade-off made it really, really tough. And especially, like you said, to the contract numbers, Donaldson gets paid about $20 million a year, I believe.
He's making close to Correa money this year.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the Yankees are stuck. I can't imagine they can offload that to somebody else.
Yeah, and why I think the Correa contract is still solid for the Mets is that I don't think Correa is ever going to have this offensive down that Josh Donaldson has now. Just because he's a bit more athletic and nimble, he can always have that contact piece where Donaldson looked really lost at the plate. And Donaldson's MVP years, he was relying on big coordinated swings. Like he's a lot going on with his mechanics that he's like a hitting guru. Like he has really refined, but as you lose a little bit of speed, like that fraction of a millisecond as you get older, I think he's kind of lost it at the plate, and his reaction time and his picking up pitches out of the hand is a bit down. So I think he's a bad defensive option. And then you look at the backup options on the roster right now, is IKF, who won a Gold Glove at third, but then his offensive production, what do you do with that? Does he have a good enough arm? He won the Gold Glove at third in a 60-game season, where I think a lot of the journalists, not to take away from IKF's Gold Glove, I'm sure he performed well, but I'm sure a lot of journalists weren't watching the different divisions that weren't, the East, Central, and West COVID divisions. So it wasn't like the Yankees, like we never played the Rangers in 2020. So that was all the AL and NL West. So with his arm, does that project well? It's a lot of uncertainty. And then Oswaldo Cabrera or Aaron Hicks are our two left field options right now. And we saw what happened with Aaron Hicks last year. I do not believe in him to play a full year of left field. And Oswaldo Cabrera, as much as I love him and has been an electric piece for the Yankees, we saw in person and a few times throughout the playoffs, left field is like his fifth position. He never played outfield in the minors. He only played a few games of left field, and then he was our starting left fielder in the playoffs. Having him jump around the diamond, actually him and Hicks were the ones who collided in that game 5 with Oswaldo Cabrera playing shortstop. And I think earlier in the Cleveland series, Oswaldo had collided or let a ball drop with Donaldson in left field, just because it's a little bit unnatural. Like it's not the hardest position, but you have to be used to playing there on a professional level. You can't just walk in and play left field or expect that of even your best athletes. So yeah, right now those are our two biggest holes, both offensively and defensively. And the only thing that we can guarantee, even it's not a guarantee, is maybe some solid third base defense from Donaldson, if that's who's in there. But then I think we have three holes, which is left field offense and defense, as well as third base offense.
I would completely agree with that, Liam. Yeah, I think Donaldson's age is just kind of catching up to him.
Yeah,
he was second on the Yankees in strikeouts. That's the concerning part for me. Like, we've seen what he's done in the past, and it's age is a brutal thing. Sometimes it doesn't. Some people just don't age well, and I just don't think he's the answer. If the Yankees, like, the Astros are a good team. There's other good teams in the AL too, not just the Astros. Like, the Blue Jays are going to be relevant for a while. They're young, they got talent. So the Yankees are going to have to fight in the AL East for a while. The Rays are pesky. The Rays are tough. And the Rays never go down without a fight. The Blue Jays are young. They're going to be relevant. I don't even want to talk about the Red Sox. It hurts me on the inside, unless we're talking about Stanton just yarfing him over the Green Monster. That's fine with me. And even the Orioles are getting better. Like, the AL East is competitive, and if you're gonna win, the Yankees need to put out the best lineup that they can. And like I've said, Liam, I'm not super familiar with the free agent market. I'm not great with the Yankees prospects. I know they have Oswaldo Cabrera, Peraza, and this kid, that kid Anthony Volpe I've been hearing about. I don't know if they're the better options. I don't know if sticking them in and benching Donaldson or benching Hicks is the option. I have no idea. But when you look at the starting lineup, especially offensively, you got a big old question mark on those two spots, like you said, third base and left field. And what's the best way to go about it? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what the Yankees are thinking, what Cashman and Steinbrenner have. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think to your point, not knowing if the prospects are the better option is not on you, is the nature of prospects. Like,
That's why they're a prospect.
Exactly. So I think really the answers to those questions is, how much are you willing to give up in a trade for somebody? Because literally this morning that we're recording, Michael Conforto signed with the Giants, which congrats to the Giants for signing somebody successfully. Let's clap it up for them a little bit.
Well, way to go, guys.
So I think that takes off basically with no Nimmo gone. It takes off pretty much all the free agent options in the outfield. At least that would be upgrades from Aaron Hicks, in my opinion. There's guys like David Peralta, who's also really old, had a bad year when he went over to Tampa. But I think we're looking at trade pieces now, and that's some of the options that Jake and I spoke about in our previous episode for left field. Brian Reynolds at the high end for Pittsburgh, which is going to take a lot. The rumor that I heard that the Yankees are looking at him and they're in talks with Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is looking more for starting pitching prospects, which the Yankees are much deeper on position player. You mentioned, Peraza, Cabrera, Volpe, to name a few. Also the Martian, Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones, their first round pick from last year, is also pretty well touted because he came out of Vanderbilt. So a lot of teams consider him to be like a pretty pro ready bat. But the Yankees aren't very deep in their starting pitching depth at the minor league level. So you have like Luis Heel, who we saw. David Garcia has been really struggling in the minor leagues, even though he was pretty good in that 2020 year. And that's like Yuendrys Gomez, who a lot of even in the weeds Yankees fans haven't heard of just because he hasn't performed that well. So we'll see what we can get from left field. I could see if we get like a left fielder, we might have to give some professional guys. Like that might be Gleyber Torres going with Oswald Peraza, with Oswaldo Cabrera. I think the Yankees want to hold on to Volpe. Volpe is like their prize jewel right now.
The top guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I only see Volpe going if we get like Tatis or somebody, at that level, or Soto. Yeah, and even for Soto, I'd be hesitant because the Yankees would have to sign him because he's a free agent after the end of this year.
Okay.
So Yeah, what that looks like, I don't know. Because we see the Yankees get different trade offers and trade evaluations for being like they get taxed basically for being the Yankees. That
Mhm.
teams are hesitant to trade with them and give them like a pro ready piece to win a World Series because teams are um rightfully bitter. And I guess as much as value as they can extract out of the Yankees while they have a good farm system, is what they should do. So that could be Dalton Varsho of the Diamondbacks, that could be Brian Reynolds, or it could be just like an MLB average player replacement level, or if that's the high end, like Tatis or Soto. Um, that's where we're giving up like everybody. Every prospect that you've loved is going to be gone. Plus Gleyber Torres, plus Aaron Hicks, plus all of them.
Yeah, Glaber's the name, Liam, that I've been hearing. Not like anything specific, but anytime I hear trade for the Yankees, it's a package with Glaber. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. But I'm glad. What I am glad about, I know we're a little off topic now, but I'm glad that they moved Glaber back to second last year. I kind of like the shift over. I'm defensively, I'm not crazy about who went to shortstop, but I'm glad that Glaber was able to go back to second. I thought that was the right move by the Yankees.
Yeah, and hopefully the Yankees recognize the same mistake they made with Glaber was a similar mistake they made this year.
We can only hope.
Yeah, we can only hope. And that's the reason why Glaber's in those talks is because we had a surplus at those middle infield positions. There's Peraza, who we saw. There's IKF, who we have, who can play shortstop, can certainly play second base and third base. There's Volpe. So between those guys, they're all pro ready this year. And Oswaldo Cabrera is really by trade a middle infielder who played a lot of third base in the minors and then outfield with the MLB team. So between and we have DJ. So between shortstop and second
I was
base,
gonna say, what about LeMahieu? Like we've hardly mentioned him, and he can do all those things too,
between short,
which is a
second, and
rarity, by the
third.
way.
Oh yeah, no, he's great, but we should, he shouldn't be a quote unquote utility guy. He should be in the lineup every day, figuring out who's resting, where he's playing. So between second, short, and third, and short, we have Volpe, Cabrera, Peraza, IKF, DJ, Glaber, Donaldson. So who
I'd
goes?
imagine DJ would be the first guy up if Rizzo gets hurt or for a rest day at first.
Yeah, and I think that's why it would be nice to have some of the prospects as flexibility. Like I think Oswaldo Cabrera is really valuable to keep, because if DJ becomes your first baseman, then Oswaldo can be a backup second baseman. He can be a backup third baseman as well. So there's someone ready, but I think DJ would still play every day. I don't think we even keep a backup first baseman because who else would even play there? Maybe like Donaldson.
I think Marwin Gonzalez played there a little last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be on the roster this year though. I think it was a
Okay.
1-year deal.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't realize
I'm
how
not
many
sure.
games he appeared in last year. He played 86 games.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that number. I was like,
That's what happens with utility guys. Once you can just get in and fill in everywhere. My second wish, which is I want to see Anthony Volpe on the team. And I want to see Volpe on the team before June 1st. Anthony Volpe, according to MLB.com, is the top rated prospect in baseball in all of MLB that has not debuted in the majors yet. The four that are above him: Francisco Alvarez of the Mets, Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles, Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks, that was the name I was trying to think of, and Grayson Rodriguez, also of the Orioles. Anthony Volpe is 5. All of those guys debuted between August and September last year, or even earlier. Volpe is next. He is so highly rated. Let me read you, and you shouldn't read too much into minor league stats. But when they're this good, you should just think about it. 2021, Anthony Volpe played 109 games in the minor leagues between the high A and low A ball. He hit 27 homers, 86 RBI, stole 33 bases, had an OPS of 1.027.
Wow.
Last year in 2022, between AA and AAA, 132 games, 21 homers, 35 doubles, 50 stolen bases, 802 OPS as a middle infielder.
Wow.
So
The stolen bases are crazy.
the stolen bases, and that's the thing with Volpe is that he doesn't have to come up and he has the hit tool, but he doesn't have to come up and hit 280 and 25 homers to be good for this team, because he rates out well defensively. And if he can be a bottom of the lineup piece that can just get on base and cause some chaos for DJ, for Judge at the top of the lineup with his athleticism, he can do that. Like we see that stolen bases is the one thing that can transfer, and it won't be 50 to 60 at an MLB level, at least until he gets established. But if he could steal 25 bases, 30 bases, that's huge. And as a playoff piece, like I would love to see him. The reason I say June 1st to have him up before, because we saw Peraza get called up in August, and he was only finding his rhythm towards the end of September. And then that's when he had a good series in Texas and he solidified his spot in the postseason. But I don't think he even made the DS roster. He made the CS roster. I forget, but he wasn't starting because IKF was starting and Oswaldo Cabrera played when we saw him.
Correct. I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think he made the DS roster. But I think Volpe, to get the full benefit of a rookie, let him struggle in June and July, have him come up, platoon, play around the infield, and that way he hopefully can get into a rhythm. He can get some comfort with the division pitching by the end of the season. And then I think that we can see a really productive player for a really low value, a low salary, high value, low salary, to be an important playoff piece and maybe even our starting shortstop come August, September.
He could be the starting shortstop.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's why it's a wish.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows? It sounds good to me.
Especially with the recent Yankees shortstop scenario. Who knows? We can only wish, which is what we're doing.
Liam, yes, that is all we're doing. You are absolutely correct that Peraza did not make the ALDS roster. It's interesting. I'm looking back on it, and Tim LaCastro made it.
Yep. And that's where Volpe can give you what the Yankees are looking for in Tim LaCastro.
Mm-hmm.
Tim LaCastro is that stolen base merchant. I know if Volpe were starting, maybe he wouldn't be that off the bench pinch run piece, which is Tim LaCastro's only role for the Yankees. But if Volpe is bad, at worst, he's a good Tim LaCastro. At best, he's our starting shortstop. So that's why I think you call him up and you give him run and you let him get that MLB experience, because he's ready. He's ready now. And with the high end of power of a 30 home run shortstop, sign me up.
Sign me up. Put the piece of paper in front of me right now. I'll sign up to watching Anthony Volpe this year. Give me a contract.